Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our court. Our court is now back in session. I am your prosecutor today, and we have heard from several witnesses thus far about if this Jesus truly is the Son of God, the promised Messiah. Some people have complained that he never got a fair trial. That's what we're trying to do here. And we thank you, the jury, be it this your third time coming or your first time coming. We are glad that you are here, and we hope that you will render the right verdict. At this time, the prosecution calls to the witness stand the Pharisee Nicodemus. Nicodemus, as you come forward here tonight, I want to just let you know how much we appreciate your presence with us tonight. It's so wonderful to have a scholarly witness come to the witness stand tonight. Let me explain to you, the jury, Nicodemus's importance as a witness. You see, he appears unlike the witnesses we've had so far. You see, he's an objective observer, an expert in the law, and a man capable of using reason and logic to separate emotion and wishful thinking. Nicodemus, a Pharisee, was a member of the prestigious Sanhedrin, the Jews' highest governing body. The Sanhedrin was made up of 70 priests, scribes, Pharisees, and distinguished laymen. Their president was the high priest. They decided matters of religious law and civil disputes that fell under religious law. He is now retired from that body. Do I have that all correct?
Yes. We were the court of highest appeal, and I had always believed we were objective and fair. And yes, I guess you could say I'm retired. But if the truth be known, I felt that I had to step down after the way things were handled at Jesus' trial.
Step down? Well, we are sure that before such a vulnerable body, Jesus received a fair trial, of course. But before we get to that, would you please tell us all how you came to know Jesus and whether you ever met him personally?
I had heard of him, of course. There was talk of the miracles he'd performed. His teachings, mostly concerning God's love, were attracting attention. His strange charisma made people feel he could peer into human hearts. But the first time I ever saw him in action was the day before Passover, when he caused such a major stir in the temple.
Oh, was that due to his radical preaching?
No, this was different. This incident showed a side of Jesus most people had not seen before. I had just come from a court proceeding when I saw him. He was looking at those who sold sacrificial animals and at the money changers. A look of untethered rage came over him, like God himself was offended. Of course, I never approved of the temple court being used as a storefront myself, but it was a tradition. Besides, it brought in money. But Jesus, he didn't care about tradition or economics. He made a whip out of some rope, and he drove the merchants out. He was furious. But it was a fury that comes from a deep-seated zeal for God. Afterwards, there was an argument between him and some of the leaders over his authority in the temple. And I guess you could say it was his response to their challenge when he said, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." That led me to do something I'd never dreamed of doing. You see, his words didn't make sense, but there was something in the way he said them that made me want to hear more.
So what did you do? Did you have the guards bring him before the Sanhedrin?
No, actually I found out where Jesus was staying, and I went to see him. He stirred something inside me, and I don't know what it was, but I just had to talk to him. And at the same time, I did have a position to maintain and felt that it was best not to be seen. So I guess you could say I snuck around and I saw him in the darkness of the evening. And we shared a strange discussion that left me with even greater inner struggles.
Okay. Did he explain his actions at the temple, or what he had said at the temple? Did he give some new interpretation of the law, perhaps?
No, it was something more personal. I hardly began the usual amenities when he told me I must be born again. And I couldn't believe my ears. This man was considered to be a wise rabbi, and here he was asking me to do the impossible. Even the most ignorant shepherd knows that a person can't return to the womb and be reborn. It was senseless.
Did you point that out to him? I mean, perhaps the defense will change its plea for Jesus to innocent due to reason of insanity.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I questioned what he said. I explained that a man of my age could hardly go through the birth process. Again, I just couldn't do that. So he explained that he wasn't talking about physical rebirth. He was talking about the spiritual rebirth that Christians would eventually come to call baptism. He went on to say that since I couldn't understand his teachings when he related them to the common earthly teachings, how could I understand the deeper truths he wished to share? And then something odd happened. He stopped speaking for himself. He dropped the singular pronoun and he started using we. His authority that he came from heaven. He spoke of being lifted on a pole in the same way that Moses lifted the serpent in the wilderness so that our ancestors could be saved. He claimed that those who believe in him would be saved also. He said that God had sent him as an act of love to save people, not to condemn them. He said that people must leave the darkness of disbelief and evil and come into the light of God's truth. Oh, how I wish I had understood then what I do now. I wish I'd seen what was in that brief moment Jesus was saying, that I hadn't just come out of the darkness of the night, but out of the darkness of sin into the light of truth. You see, he was inviting me to the joy of eternal light. If I knew then what I do now, I might have defended him.
I must say, I'm a little disturbed. You're not saying that you've been won over by all this talk of rebirth and love. You already testified that this is nonsensical. Surely, reason dictates that Jesus was just another raving fanatic, stirring up all the people and endangering the peace of Jerusalem.
I admit it seemed unreasonable then. It took me too long to see the light Jesus had invited me to step into that night. Perhaps, if I'd been less determined to be rational, more open to the faith the Spirit was planting in my heart, I could have reasoned with my colleagues of the Sanhedrin. I might have persuaded them to give Jesus a true hearing. But I came into the light too late. He was condemned and crucified. God was crucified. And in the end, all I could do was see that he had a decent burial.
Nicodemus, I'm truly shocked. I was certain that a man of your learning, a man of your intelligence, could not have been taken in by this Jesus. You are dismissed. No wonder you had to retire from the Sanhedrin.
Do you know what finally convinced me? What made me a believer? It was when I looked at Jesus hanging on the cross and realized everything he told me that dark night had indeed come true. That he was going to die to save us. to save me. His words came back to me then. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have eternal life. That kind of life and sacrifice doesn't make sense. But that love is what my heart, everyone's heart, truly cries out for.
Poor deluded man. He let something get in the way of thinking rationally. He actually believes in this Jesus. Court is now in recess until next week, when our next witness shall be an adulterous woman.